Welcome to this episode of Service to Humanity. In our lineup this week, we shall continue with our review of activities of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. And our focus this week is on the events around the creation and launching of some policies by the Humanitarian Ministry and her agencies. We shall also take you to Kaduna, where some beneficiaries of the Empower NTech program are being trained in agricultural technology. My name is Habiba Zoksog, welcoming you to another episode of the program. Please stay tuned for details after the break.
To da farko dai alhamdulillah ana yi dai amma kaɗan ba sosai ba. To da Allah ya sa ya kawo wannan tallafi na wannan gwamnati to sai abin ya daɗa haɓaka ya min tasiri tunda sana'ata ta ƙaru kuma sannan yan wasu hidindimu na yara dai duk kana samu kai da shi a ciki. Wasu suna yi ba su da ƙarfi a dalilin shi ya ƙaru, wani kuma bai da shin a dalilin haka ya tashi. Kuma na godiya sosai da wannan taimako da suka mana, taimakon Allah da nasu mafi akasari.
Service to Humanity starts with news from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the agencies under its purview. Please stay tuned for details.
You can't kick children out, you can't keep the children from school. And so
Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has held the National Homegrown School Feeding Program Policy Stakeholder Validation Workshop. The workshop, which took place at the Treasury House, Abuja on the 3rd of May, had in attendance the Humanitarian Minister, Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk, who was represented by the National Coordinator of the National Social Investment Programs, NCIPS, Engineer Umar Binder. Others present include Deputy Director of the United Nations World Food Programme, UNWFP, Mr. Guy Adu, represented by Agnes Mungaishia, state focal persons of the school feeding program, among other stakeholders. While giving the welcome address, representative of the Humanitarian Minister, Engineer Umar Binder, described the policy on the school feeding program as a document that would help in sustaining the program.
A policy is literally just a piece of paper or a piece of document with a lot of ideas. Fortunately for the school feeding program, it's not just ideas. It's practical experiences from the field put together so that we can be able to show to the world that we know how to plan, we know how to digest the plans into programs, we know how to break the programs into projects, and we know how to actually take the projects to the target group very, very efficiently. And therefore, this document has painstakingly compiled, which everybody here has a copy, and which every Nigerian will have access to freely, is now at its final lap in a relay of approvals and endorsement so that it can now become a standard document emerging from these young people that have been able to run this program for this number of years to mature at this level and showcase it to the world that we are here as a mature team and the program is here to stay.
Presenting the policy framework, Team leader of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, Aisha Digil, in her presentation, noted that the school feeding program draft policy started in 2021 following a United Nations and federal government joint assessment.
This assessment was carried out across the participating states to actually look at how the implementation of the program has been, what the challenges are, what the gaps are, and then recommendations were made. At the end of this policy draft document was created, and so this is how it started.
Digil said, so far, over 10 million pupils in 56,000 schools are fed nationwide, with over 120,000 women recruited as cooks under the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. She added that the policy will be extended to out-of-school children, school children with special needs and children learning under emergencies. Speaking in an interview, the National Coordinator of the NSIPs, Engineer Umar Binder, speaks further of the school feeding policy validation workshop.
This particular validation workshop is now to put all the stakeholders together again, re-look at the document, see all the components, the policies that we have actually managed to harmonize, to extract the validity and the usefulness of the school feeding program, the funding options, the partnership platforms, the linkage with the state governments, the targeting of the children. All that is captured in that document as a policy to guide the further development of this program and its sustainability. So the validation is literally the final proofreading and endorsement by Nigerians and its own partners to produce a document that we can call the Nigerian policy document on school feeding program.
In the course of fulfilling its mandate of coordinating humanitarian services, managing disasters and creating social intervention programs for the betterment of the poor and vulnerable Nigerians, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, alongside her agencies, has formulated policies and plans that have really fine-tuned the impact of its various projects and programs. Tonight on Service to Humanity, we shall review some of the events that mark the creation and implementation of some of those policies. Keep watching.
When the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs was established, it was given 7 key mandates by the President. 3 of these 7 mandates border on policy formulation in recognition of the need to build institutional frameworks. These mandates are to formulate and implement social policies for improved living standard for the elderly, the vulnerable, and socially disadvantaged persons. Formulate policy on all activities relating to the disaster management in Nigeria and coordinate the plans and programs for efficient and effective response to disaster at national level. And to formulate and coordinate implementation of social development policies and programs in collaboration with other MDAs. Towards this end, the ministry in its over 3 years of existence has recorded successes along the lines of policy formation. On March 22, 2022, the Humanitarian Ministry launched the National Policy on Internally Displaced Persons (IDP) at the Ladi Kwali Hall of Sheraton Hotel in Abuja. The policy launched in Abuja during the ministry's Humanitarian Open House, themed Coordinating for Durable Humanitarian Solutions, The Journey So Far. In her keynote address, the minister stated that new realities and emerging trends in the humanitarian space in Nigeria were taken into cognizance before developing and adopting the policy.
This policy therefore draws extensively on the guidance of international and national frameworks on the prevention of internal displacement, as well as those on protection and assistance of internally displaced persons. The Kampala Convention, the UN Guiding Principles on Internal Displacement, and the fair minimum standards for humanitarian assistance have significantly defined the direction of this policy. This policy envisions an equitable and stable Nigerian society that is proactive and responsive to situations that could lead to internal displacement, where the right to life of dignity is guaranteed for all internally displaced persons, and where adequate measures and durable solutions exist to prevent and mitigate the impact of internal displacement on vulnerable populations.
On May 17, 2022, the Humanitarian Ministry, in collaboration with key stakeholders, held a technical review of the National Disaster Risk Management Policy, which was designed in 2019 by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. At the event, the Humanitarian Minister Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk, who spoke through the Director, Disaster Risk Management of the Ministry, Alhaji Ali Grema, gave a brief history of the National Disaster Risk Management Policy and why it was created.
The National Disaster Risk Management Policy was developed in July 2019 by NEMA in collaboration with UNDP and other critical stakeholders. At the time, the ministry was not established. Since the establishment of the ministry, it became pertinent to the ministry to conduct a review of the existing policy to better understanding the scope of the coverage of the policy. Implementations of the disaster management stakeholders make input and further operationalize the policy in relation to its program and intervention for its persons of concerns, which include the vulnerable poor, persons with special needs, victims of trafficking, internally displaced persons, refugees, elderly, unemployed, and youth.
Farouk reiterated that the expected outcome of the technical review of the National Disaster Risk Management Policy is to ensure stakeholders are aware of the Ministry's roles and inputs into the policy, and that participants review and validate those inputs. Following over a decade of damages and atrocities perpetrated by insurgents in the northeast states of Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno, Gombe, Taraba and Yobe, the Northeast Development Commission (NEDC) also launched the Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan to rebuild and revive economic activities in the region. The master plan was launched at the International Conference Center in Abuja on Thursday, 1st September 2022. The master plan launched is a 10-year plan with a total sum of 31.01 trillion naira earmarked for it.
At this juncture, I wish to call on all stakeholders in the private and public sectors, development partners, especially donors, to garner resources and invest optimally in the richly endowed but least exploited Northeast region. Thankfully, the region is witnessing improved security and gradually returning to sustainable peace and stability.
While congratulating the management and staff of the NEDC for this achievement, I will urge you to develop a robust coordination as well as monitoring, evaluation and impact assessment framework for the effective implementation of the master plan, which will assist the ministry in tracking and assessing your project.
It will run from 2020 to 2030, that's 10 years, in 4 implementation phases. One is the recovery and stabilization, which will take place between 2020 and 2021. We have the renewal phase, 2022 to 2023. We have the expansion phase, 2024 to 2025, and finally, the sustainable growth phase, 2026 to 2030.
In the same vein, Tuesday, 31st January 2023, saw the launch of the Strategic Roadmap on Aging 2022 to 2032, a National Action Plan on Aging in Nigeria and Project Activities 2021 to 2025 by the National Senior Citizens Center in Abuja. The national strategy provides the framework for multi-sector coordinated national action on aging and for building sector-wide capacities in aging policy, planning and implementation, as well as synthesizing sector-wide multi-indicator data on aging. This is to ensure that operational platforms for effective multi-sectoral actions, collaborations, and coordination exist with clarity and consistency. Speaking at the event, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk, represented by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Humanitarian Affairs, Musa Bungudu, stated that the need for an action plan cannot be overemphasized, as planning provides the basis for laying a good foundation for success.
The NSCC has started on a sound footing. by providing an outline of our steps designed with the goals of the entire organization. By the strategic document to be launched today, all measures to be taken to provide a broad picture of what must be achieved and in which order, including how to organize a system capable of achieving the overall goals and objectives of the NNCC for the next few years, have been identified.
Director General of the NSCC, Dr. M.M. Omokaro, described the occasion as a milestone for the Humanitarian Ministry, the NSCC, older citizens, and also for the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. She said that the unveiling of the Strategic Roadmap on Aging 2022 to 2032 and the National Plan of Action on Aging and Project Activities 2021 to 2025 will give Nigerians optimistic perception of aging.
These instruments provide the framework to address aging and the challenges of aging in a comprehensive and holistic manner, and to fully harness the accompanying opportunities to enable prosperity, not only for all the people, but for their families and community.
The highest point of its achievement, however, can be said to be the 5-year strategic roadmap, which captures ways of providing effective coordination of national and international humanitarian interventions. The roadmap was tagged Mapping Out a Life of Dignity for All and spans from 2021 to 2025. It was launched by the Vice President, Yemi Oshibanjo, who stated the readiness of the federal government to support the actualization of the provisions of the roadmap.
The ministry and its agencies.
Earlier this year, at the 23rd edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration's scorecard in Abuja, aimed at acquainting the Nigerian public with the activities and programs of this administration in general, the Humanitarian Minister, Hajiya Sadiya Umar Farouk, spoke on this policy as well as other strategic plans and policies initiated, reviewed, updated, and launched by the ministry.
This includes the National Policy for IDPs, the National Disaster Risk Management Policy, Revised National Disability Policy, the National Social Protection Policy in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, and other stakeholders, and many more as listed. The National Contingency Plan 2019 to 2021, the National Flood Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan 2022, the National Action Plan on Human Trafficking in Nigeria 2022 to 2026, Protocol for Identification, Safe Return and Rehabilitation of Trafficked Persons 2022, and many more as shown also on the screen. We also work in close collaboration with other MDAs to ensure the actualization of these policies and plans.
The minister revealed that the ministry has directly touched the lives of over 15 million individuals and their families through programs by its agencies and the National Social Investment Program (NSIPS), adding that through the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari, the life-changing programs of the ministry are being institutionalized and continue to receive necessary funding. She then reiterated the commitment of the ministry in actualizing its efforts of promoting human dignity.
With this ministerial press briefing, I want to assure the general public that the ministry will continue to discharge its duties with greater focus on the strategy to lift many Nigerians out of poverty in the nearest future. I also wish to reiterate our commitment to the vision of creating sustainable and inclusive social systems that promote human dignity in Nigeria. Thank you very much for your attention, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You're still watching Service to Humanity. Since the creation of the Humanitarian Ministry, the federal government has been up and doing in ensuring the empowerment of the Nigerian youth through the clusters of the Empower program. This is to complement the plan of President Muhammadu Buhari to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. In this episode, we shall take you to Kaduna, where some beneficiaries of the program are being trained in agricultural technology. Keep watching.
In order to prevent other things from damaging your crop, like rodents.
Mavi Skills and Acquisition Center is a training ground for the beneficiaries of the ongoing Empower and Build program in Kaduna State. The training, which is aimed at equipping beneficiaries with theoretical and practical skills in modern agriculture, will last for a period of 3 months.
Those that
According to Head, Mavi Skills Acquisition Center, Engineer Bokis Orji, there are 13 beneficiaries selected to undergo the program at the center. He added that the theoretical aspect of the training is the first stage, while the practical would be the final stage of the training.
After the training, we intend to examine them. Those that actually make it in the final assessment will get starter packs. We're telling them this so that they will get serious with their studies. The starter packs are very important in their life because they will help them to achieve what they have come here for. And the starter packs, I can assure you that they are made up of very good implements, farm implements that will help them do well in their business.
He speaks on the impact of the program on the lives of youth, as he urged them to participate diligently.
It is going to impact their lives seriously because the truth is Nigeria, we are an economy that is agrarian, and we need this youth to take up agriculture as a serious means of entrepreneurship, because the truth is we have been looking down on this agricultural farming, and we have let everything out of our hands. So the best thing is for us to get involved in this agricultural distance so that first we have food security and then we have money in our pockets.
So agricultural help us with that.
During the training, beneficiaries will be exposed to functions of agriculture, its potentials and benefits to individuals and the nation. They will also be tutored on various farm tools and equipment, their uses, mode of application, among others.
So far so good. They have been serious. They pick interest. They show they really want to learn what agri-tech is all about, and they assure me they will make use of the little knowledge they will gain from here.
Some of the beneficiaries shared their thoughts on the program and experience at the training.
What motivates me, because I want to impart something in my life, have something to do, because normally I don't have anything doing. I always stay around in my friend's shop to gist something. Like when they called me, I was very, very happy towards it.
They taught us about life skills, so I learned a lot of things based on our behavior, how we should behave, and they taught us about agri, how to farm and use the tractors, the machineries in agri.
I'm saying a big thank you for whatever they are doing, because some people are looking for this opportunity and did not have, and I'm saying thank you for the government. And may God give them whatever they want, and it should increase knowledge and understanding for them to make a lot of things for the youth.
And that's our package on this episode of Service to Humanity. Join me again same time next week and same station for more on the strides of the ministry and her agencies in reaching the nation's most vulnerable with the initiatives of the federal government to better their lives. My name is Habiba Zakzak, saying good night and God bless Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of the week.